Welcome to the GridironBoyz podcast. I am your host, Evan Lopez, and I will be doing the podcast with Aaryn and Austin, my other brothers. This part of the podcast is part 2 of our Big 12 predictions. This is 8 through 1. If you want to watch the previous 16 through 9 teams, that'll be our very first video of the Big 12. Part 1, so go check that out. This is going to be part 2, and we'll be kicking it off with Aaron's 8th team.
My number 8 team, Oklahoma State.
Segue that one, dude. I know. I thought we were getting to an argument. He's like, all right, I'm just going to pull my team. They're basically the same team.
That's a good point for a transition, all right? All right, I'll send it.
I want y'all to go look at ACC and Big 12 and don't tell me these teams are not, like, basically the same.
What I would say, though, is unlike Mike Norvell, what I will never do, as Austin said, is doubt goddamn Mike Gundy. He's 40. He's a man.
He's above 40. He's above 40 now, but I got you.
So, I love me some Mike Gundy, all right? I mean, but going back to why I have him so low is also to Evan's point. What the fuck do they got to work with? Not shit that we can see. I'm not, I just closed the book on myself. Not shit that we can see. I'm not saying that Mike Gundy can't figure it out. Because it's Mike Gundy. He's probably going to figure it out. But, you know, they got a tight end that, hey, they're going to make the joke. I love his size. I love it. 6'6", 255. That's an absolute unit of a human being at tight end, okay? That's crazy. And you know what's even crazier? He's a sophomore. He's a sophomore, dude. Josh Ford. It's 92 yards for
Aaron
1
saw
TD.
that. He looked at it, 6'6", 250, and he started salivating when he first saw it. He's like, oh, I'm putting this on right here.
Yeah,
I'm going to talk about this.
And then full-blown drool at sophomore.
I was about to say, you're drooling all over the paper, man. That paper's gone, dude.
This 19-year-old is 6'6", 250.
You know what? Fuck that. Austin, you can't tell me as a coach. You see a sophomore 6'6", 255-pound tight end, and you're not sitting here like, fucking throw that boy the ball. What are we doing?
Just need a 3-surface side, and we're about to run this thing.
Yeah, and apparently that's what they did because he only has 92 yards and 1 touchdown. So apparently he's a blocking guy, but like, fuck it. I'm saying Ford down there somewhere. Throw that bitch up there.
Why are we not passing to him well? Why are we not passing to him well? It's Alan Bowman throwing it, so we just figured.
Nah, that's a good point. Yeah,
for
you're
sure.
right.
That is like a glorified lineman.
Alan Bowman hate is just funny. I don't know if it's because I'm a tech guy, and so it's like, man, forget Alan Bowman. I don't know. I could just be biased.
No,
The only thing I
think the
hate
hate's
is that
justified.
hat, but you know, whatever.
Yeah, could be. I don't know. What's he playing for? Isn't he playing for that other league, like the Brahmas or something like that?
I think so. With Max Duggan over there in the UFL.
You leave the legend out of your mouth. Damn it, Max Duggan is a man. That's a fucking man.
Hey, and Oklahoma State has the offensive coordinator that coached him.
Sure. I don't know, but Max Duggan, you leave his name
Doug
out
Meacham.
your
Doug
fucking
Meacham was the
mouth.
offensive coordinator at TCU. Mike Gundy got that OC.
Are you listening when Austin's speaking, dude? Dang.
Yeah,
dude.
you know what? Kind of, but I'm also drinking. So I catch some things, I catch others. I don't know. Anyway, Cam Smith, DB, senior, 6 foot, 200 pounds, 34 tackles, 1 forced fumble, 1 INT. Not bad. This is a team I struggled to find some people. I got Parker Robinson. For some reason, that rung a bell. I think I have a dude the same name on my Snapchat, completely unrelated. Completely unrelated, but I saw his name. Was like, I know that guy. I know that guy. Then I saw his picture. I was like, I don't know that guy. I do not know that guy. 5'11", 185, 49 total tackles, 40 solos, 2 INTs. So the brother from another mother, Cabal. He Cabal. I mean, other than that, like I said, absolutely struggled to find anything for these guys. The reason I have them so high is because they have the man who is above 40, Mike Gundy, and I will never doubt that man. I will never doubt
I like
that.
it.
Until he gives
I'm
me
with
a
it.
reason, I will never doubt that man.
This year we might all be going like, dang, you know. But
All right, hey,
until I see it, I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna be like, no, my Gundy's got this. He's gonna right the ship.
hey, brother, it's time to call it.
All right. Well, I mean, I guess I'm going to my number 8. I see this might be a little bit of a hot take, but like y'all said, we're starting to get into the thick of it. We're starting to get to the teams that could
I haven't
contend
said that
to
one
win
time.
Number 8, I'm gonna go with Utah. I'll let you know. Let me get my book here, my trusty book here. They were 5-7 last year, 2-7 in conference play. Their wins, they beat Baylor 23-12. This was earlier in the year because the end of the year for Baylor was an absolute flip from the start. They beat Oklahoma State 22-19. Their losses, they lost by 1 to BYU, 21-22. They were also ranked 9th. And they barely lost by 3 to Iowa State, which was ranked 22 at the time. And so Utah, they were 14th on offense, 2nd on defense, but we already know why. Their quarterback, the injuries, he played for a couple games injured. You put different guys out there. Here is a guy that Austin kind of foreshadowed. He was going to talk about him, but I'm going to get to him first. This guy from New Mexico, Dampier. The reason I know this guy was because my second, when we got college football 25, my second coach dynasty was New Mexico. And I was controlling Dampier, and we went far. Let me just tell you that. Dampier was an MVP or Heisman almost every year. Let me just tell you that. This guy, honestly, rocked the socks off his stats. No one talks about him. 155 attempts. This is in rushing. Over 1,000 yards. Almost 1,200 yards rushing. And 19 touchdowns. Why haven't we not talked about this guy? Dampier, I don't feel like anybody's brought this up. That is ridiculous. I thought this dude was a running back. I think he is.
I think we've heard people. No. I think we've heard this, talked about on other ones. Casuals won't hear about him, but he does get talked about in the circles of people who want to talk about football. Devin Dampier he's a stud. But I get you, because a lot of casuals, if you're not watching New Mexico Lobos, right? Like if they're not, you can slide under the radar, I guess. But in those circles that talk about football, they do talk about Devin Dampier as far as a dual threat quarterback. Continue on, sorry.
That's the thing. I think he needs to focus on his passing. That is where he kind of falls off. This guy struggled passing. He had 2,768 yards, and I get Austin's like, what are you talking about? 57%, 12 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. This guy, I think he's struggling. I mean, he's looks like he's more of a runner. The stats are showing, but you lower that. You get the touchdowns a little higher. This guy's going to be tough to beat. You need to run. This Big 12 is starting to get crazier on the D-line every year. So, I mean, I think you just got to focus on the passing game for Dampier. The running you got, which is awesome, but you just got to focus on the throwing. I don't know how this is going to work for Utah. Hopefully he can get those stats up, because that dude could be a dark horse. Who knows? I also wanted to highlight Ryan Davis. Also a wideout from New Mexico. So they went the New Mexico route. He had 54 receptions, 747 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I think both of those are going to be great. I think Dampier will improve in the passing game, and I think Ryan Davis will be receiver 1 in Utah. And the defenders, I got Lander Barton, linebacker senior. 37 solo tackles, 72 total, 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 2 INTs. And then I got Smith Snowden, a cornerback, junior, 34 tackles, 48 total, 1 forced fumble, 2 INTs, and 8 passes defended. So here's we have transfers in these positions for Utah. So pretty much a whole new sorry, I just heard Aaron's whatever's going on over there. Pretty much a whole new offense almost. You got to transfer from quarterback, running back, and all 3 receivers. At least, skill position wise, the line are pretty much the same. And you only have 2 transfers on defense, which, like I said, you were second in defense last year, and you only had 2 transfers. You lost a couple, but I think their defense is going to be really good. It's really up to Dan Pierre and how he passes the ball this year. That's what I got.
My number 8, I have TCU. So this is where I put TCU for a lot of reasons. Sonny Dykes, I think he does a good job. I think he's kind of built. He's starting to build that program up to what it needs to be. Obviously, they kind of slipped from their national championship appearance. But for some of the reasons that Aaron already talked about, Josh Hoover, a 4,000-yard passer. They also, though, what I'm going to focus more on is that defense. They are returning 73% of their production on defense, and they are going to be behind an experienced defensive back, a secondary unit. But what I've been hearing on the spring games and their offseason is they have some monsters that they're actually looking forward to in the front, and mainly that defensive line. So I'm kind of excited. Like, maybe they put it all together. I know they have a secondary, but that defensive line maybe is going to be better than what most people are looking at. So when you're returning over 70% of your defense, that's some exciting news that you got some experience back there, and then obviously a quarterback that can throw for 4,000. So you can put those together. The thing that keeps me from putting them higher, why they're obviously 8th, is the strength of schedule. Once again, heck yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Aaron.
I feel so judged right now.
But no, don't be judged, man. You enjoy it, man. But no, but like the strength schedule, the thing that keeps me from playing higher, and I hate doing it like for how the strength of schedule, because you're only basing the strength on schedule based on how good you think the team's going to be. We really don't know, but they are going to be at Arizona
Even
State. They're going to be at
based
Kansas.
on how they were last year. You know
I don't
what
like
mean?
doing that because with a team last year, you wouldn't do that with Arizona State because Arizona State was 3-9 the year before. So they were technically an easier team. So that's what I'm saying. You don't want to do that because I hate doing it, but I do it because
like I said,
we don't know. We're taking guesses. Yeah. And so
for sure.
them being at Arizona State, at Kansas State, at BYU, that's a tough road, schedule right there. So that kind of keeps me from putting them any higher than that because I think they're just going to run in some tough road games. So that's why they're at my 8. It's TCU. But I'm excited to see what they can do.
Even some of their home games are tough. Like you got Baylor and Iowa State. Man.
Yeah, they've got a tough schedule
for TCU.
Yeah, for sure. But that's my 8. So.
Speaking of Baylor, my number 17. I'm here for them, baby. The Baylor Bears, all right? They got a dude that I'm sure Evan's going to talk about here in a little bit. So you know what? I'll save it for him because he's really high on this guy, Sawyer Robinson. So I'm not going to get in depth on him. Just know that's a Lubbock boy. So I had to put that down in my notes because I know y'all'd love that shit. I didn't know you were going to join us, Austin, but fuck your hat, but you're a Lubbock boy. So, you you can have that. He's a Lubbock boy. I'm going to go ahead and move off of him and go to Ashton Hawkins. Receiver, senior, 5'10", 165. Brother needs to bulk up, if you ask me, 165. But off that, he did have almost 600 yards for 5 TDs, so the potential's there. 2023, he was almost a 1,000-yard receiver in 2023. So you could tell that the production's there. I don't know if he got hurt. I ain't gonna sit here and lie to you. I'm not an expert. Fuck you. I'm gonna do it anyway.
Sorry, my bad, dude.
I'm not an expert, but he might have got hurt, or I don't know what happened this year. If he just kind of had a slump there, but he was almost a 1,000-yard receiver. He creates good separation, so I think he could end up being Sawyer's guy, his little go-to, But yeah, then I have a DB, Devin Bobby, 5'11", 196, 80 total tackles. I go back to, I've been trained to fit, that's not a good thing to hear. But then, as a DB, I hear a DB got 80 tackles, and I'm like, well, shit, good for that guy,
Yeah.
Good for that guy. He getting into the action.
You're willing to do it, dude.
But he also had 3 INTs, so I mean, he's obviously one of the anchors of the defense. He's a pretty important guy. I think he can. He needs to have kind of the same year. Hopefully, he can bring the tackles down a little bit. Ain't got to worry about tackling. So people only worry about covering some receivers. And then we got Keaton Thomas, linebacker. He's a junior. 114 total tackles, 2.5 sacks, 1 INT with that ended up being a pick six. So I mean, the playmaking's there. I'm with y'all. I'm pretty high on Baylor. They're bringing back a lot of people, and we know how I feel about vetted teams. Uh, but it's just with the Big 12, it's just such a big unknown. When it came down to their schedule, I really just kind of had them falling in that 7 slot. So yeah.
All right. Going to my 7. Austin really just talked about him pretty much. I'm going to go with TCU. TCU, they were 9-4 last year, 6-3 in conference play. One of their wins was against Texas Tech, 35-34. Baron Morton did get injured. You had Will Hammond, but Will Hammond fumbled. I don't remember how he fumbled, but that ended the game.
That was the worst ending of a game. God, I hated that.
Yeah.
I was so mad.
Yeah, we were winning the whole time. It's just the end.
God,
just like Tech fashion, of course. You beat Cincinnati by a touchdown. And like I said, it just proved my point. Cincinnati's going to be in those games, and you got a dub. It don't matter. A dub's a dub. The losses I wanted to point out, they lost to Baylor, 34-37. Baylor's a tough team. They also lost to Houston. That's a game you really don't want to lose, 19-30. But the Big 12, they were 3rd in offense, 9th in defense. And I think Austin's already talked about, and Aaron talked about Josh Hoover. I think Tennessee try to tamper and try to take him away, and he just stood his ground. He's like, hey, I'm going to stay at TCU. So that's pretty cool. He wants to be there. Yeah, that's what you want. And then receiver Eric McAllister, we've already talked about him. I think he's going to be receiver number 1. Almost at 800 yards. He kind of 2023, he had 873 yards. This year he had 762. So a little bit of a downgrade, but not too bad where you really got to worry. I think he's going to upgrade that. Defense, Jamel Johnson, safety, which I think Aaron has already talked about. 73 total tackles. And then I think Austin was the one talking about how TCU's D-line was something that they were proud of. Was that correct?
They're excited for this year. From some of the sources I read up on, they're kind of excited. Their defensive back, their secondary is something that people are already familiar with, being experienced, but that line they're kind of excited for coming up this year from some of the things I read. So they might put it all together on defense. Maybe. I don't know. Have to see.
I would love to kind of talk about it. I have defensive tackle, Enzel Din Mumbai. I definitely said that wrong. I don't know how. What? Whatever his name is. This dude, 24 total tackles, 14 solo. That's pretty good for a defensive tackle. 7 tackles for loss. That's something I really love. That's awesome. And he also had 6 sacks as a D tackle. 6 sacks. That's awesome. You're doing your job. 2 quarterback hurries. He was from Washington State, so that's why they're excited. They're getting these transfers in. And I'm saying the Big 12, they're starting to really upgrade on these lines. You're seeing some bigger dudes coming into Big 12 nowadays with this transfer portal and stuff. So you're going to see some upgraded trench warfare. I also wanted to say that only 2 transfers on offense and defense are projected starters. So 9 out of the 11 have been in the program. So they're vetted. They're here. They know the program. They know Sonny Dykes. But TCU had a turnover problem. They had 18 fumbles last year. That's something you got to fix. I don't know how the hell you have 18 fumbles. I don't know who the fuck is fumbling. Get him out of there. If he's out of there, good. Get him out.
I don't know who's fumbling, but get him off the field.
Yeah, exactly. And they struggle to run the ball a little bit, which hopefully they can figure out.
I'll be honest. I think quite a bit of it's Hoover, though. I don't know if you can get that guy.
What's up?
Speaking of Hoover, I just remembered. He never transferred.
You say
in.
something
He's
about the
just from
Hoover
our home, the Rockwall Heath. If you know,
high school.
If you know, you know. We know. Y'all don't, but we know.
Y'all know.
Y'all know.
Yeah.
We know.
But that is why TCU's number 7.
Number 7, I think y'all have already named. Oh, man, I'm already forgetting. I think y'all already named this team. I think I have them higher than both of y'all, but I have Utah. Have y'all both said Utah already?
Yep.
Yeah, I have my 8.
Okay.
I don't have them very
Okay.
high.
Well, you had a what?
I have then no, I have not talked to Utah.
Oh, here we
Okay,
go.
so
I'm the
me
only
and
one
you
talking
might
about
be
them.
on the same side with Utah. I'm looking at Utah the same way I kind of look at Oklahoma State as far as coaching. Kyle Whittingham. I I love Kyle Whittingham as a coach. He's such an experience. He's been there for the longest time. I think he's had a consistent coaching staff. So you usually get a consistent Utah here. You're going to get the same old solid defense coming from Utah, and I think you can always just rely on a good defense. You know that the offense might fluctuate, but the defense goes. What killed them was the early injury bugs that happened. I mean, really early in the season, they started dropping, and I think that just hurt them last year. You really couldn't recover from a lot of major key players last year that started to get injured. Um, as far as offense, they hit the transfer portal on offense. You already talked about it, right? They got a dual threat quarterback coming in, so you put a solid defense that Kyle Whittingham always puts together, and then say, hey, let's try and vamp this offense up. We know we're going to hold you. Now can we just start scoring? So you get Devin Dampier on there, and you start seeing like what can we do with it? Can we start scoring there? What else did I put there for Utah? Um, that's really it. Like I said, just strong defense. Hopefully they can just not get hurt, right? If they can just stay healthy and then see what this dual threat Devin Dampier can do. 2,800 yards passing, 1,100 yards rushing. That's just a dangerous man, I feel like. That's something you have to account for. That's something you have to do that extra scouting when you got a quarterback like that. I mean, I don't want to put him in the same level as like a Johnny Manziel. I'm saying the type. Like you got someone like Johnny who's going to throw for 4,000, rush for 1,100. It's a problem, right? It's like those people are problems. So I look for Kyle Whittingham a lot like Mike Gundy. I don't like to bet against him. So I have them at number 7. And this is where I start to get in, like we were talking about. This is kind of where I start to say these are the ones there's a scenario. Could we be talking about Utah being in the Big 12 championship? I say yes. If you say Utah right now is not win it, but in it, yeah. So I think I'm hitting it where I said I can. Yeah, when I say there's about 7 teams that I say I can see winning it, I'm starting it with Utah. I can see them in a scenario. Kyle Whittingham gets over there in his second year, right, in the Big 12. Is this second year? Second.
Yeah, second year.
Second year. I can see Kyle Whittingham already in a conference championship. Yeah, I don't know why.
First year. No, this will be his second year. Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it was
his
his
second
first
year in the Big
Yes.
12. Kyle Whittingham could be playing and fighting for a Big 12 championship. So that is my.
I had to remember "Fuck Utah." I had to remember that by that bitch ass Caleb Williams. I had to remember that petty ass move.
So much hate.
You really be hateful this episode, dude.
Hey, speaking of hateful,
the more he drinks, the more hateful.
Moving on. Go. Going to my number 16.
Dude, you've been dropping that shit, dude. This dude's fumbling. I figured out who's fumbling for TCU. This guy over here. He has 16 of the 18 fumbles. God damn. Okay, keep going. My bad, dude. My fault. You got it, brother.
Going from the Melvin Gordon Broncos. Okay, that's crazy.
We are on Big 12. Let's not even get to the. Let's not get that soapbox.
Melvin Gordon Broncos over here.
Let's not get that soapbox going. I don't want to start that.
My number 6 team is Arizona State. I feel like everybody's way too high on this team. I mean,
talk it.
Hot take. Fucking.
That really is. That's awesome.
I'm for it. I don't care.
I'm for it.
Yeah, I mean, what do they have returning besides Sam Levitt and Jordan Tyson? I mean, Cam Scatteraboo was 85% of your offense. I feel like if it wasn't for Cam Scatteraboo, Levitt wasn't doing what Levitt was doing. So, personally, I don't have them doing as hot as everybody has them. People have them as the favorite to win the Big 12, and that's just crazy to me. We go back to, you can't judge a team based off the previous year. That's just ridiculous. They're not going to have the same people. It's not going to be the same production. It's not going to be the same scheme necessarily. But, I mean, all that said, they do have Sam Levitt. And I'm with Evan here. I'm sure Austin is the same way. I love me some Sam Levitt. That dude is a dog. He is a great quarterback. almost 3,000 yards, 24 TDs to 6 INTs with an absolute workhorse running back. He also ran for another 500 yards, 5 TDs. I mean, that's really good. Now, I do believe he will have to be a bigger part of the offense. He will have to be a bigger part of the scheme now that Scattaboo is gone. And even with him, obviously, who's going to have to step it up will be Jordan Tyson, the receiver, who did get hurt by the end of the year. He did get hurt, had to miss the playoffs, was having a hell of a year. 1,000-yard receiver, just off of 75 catches, had 10 touchdowns. Like I said, could have played a big role in the playoffs, but got hurt. I mean, Jordan Tyson was looking like he was going to be that dude. But at the end of the day, how much of that was Cam Scattaboo? How much opened up their game that involved Cam Scattaboo? I don't know. We're going to find out, but that's why I kind of have him lower. It's because I'm not sure if it was mostly Cam Scattaboo or it was just a great offense. I mean, I don't know. We're going to find out. But they do have, Xavion Alford at DB, bigger guy, 85 tackles, 2 INTs. I see him as more of the anchor of the defense, or of the secondary, sorry, let me rephrase that, of the secondary. Then you also have Miles Rouser, I believe is how you say his name.
Yeah.
6'1", 185, 98 total tackles, 51 solos, 1 sack, and I think he is the perfect combo to Xavion. I mean, it's kind of hard to kind of beat that kind of a combo. We got a problem, though, whenever you're, let's do some quick math here.
Safety, right?
Yeah, you got an issue when your DBs are, almost at 200 tackles for 2 of them. That's an issue, but it's hard to argue with some of their stats. Yeah, I have Arizona State at 6.
All right. My number 6, this is a team in controversy right now because of a starting quarterback. I'm going to go with BYU. This is my number 6. See, I don't really know what's going on. If you can enlighten me, like, what's the BYU quarterback
Sexual assault.
Sexual assault. Okay, so that's a big deal. We don't know what's going to happen there. But
as of
they were
now, he's
11
playing, right, Austin? Is that what you said? As of now,
I'm not sure.
As of now,
Actually,
he's playing.
I don't know either.
I have to look. I'm not sure. I don't know what has transpired. Where are they at with that? The allegation? Is it just an allegation, or is this thing?
I know he just got accused like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so they're probably end up. Yeah, I don't know.
Be a problem.
I didn't write them down just for that reason because I don't know what the hell's going on. BYU. I thought y'all were. I'm not even gonna get into that. Some of their wins, they were 38-9. 38-9. They beat Kansas State. They beat Kansas State 38-9. They also beat SMU, if we remember that game. What a defensive showdown. The reason is because of BYU has the number 1 defense in the Big 12, and I believe SMU had the number 1 defense in the ACC. That is why you saw an 18-15 game. BYU, I didn't talk about the quarterback. I wanted to talk about L.J. Martin, a running back for BYU. He had 137 attempts, 718 yards. He averaged about 5.5 yards per carry. 7 touchdowns. His receiving yards could be a little better. 10 receptions, only 98 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did have 3 fumbles. That's where I said the 2 fumbles, the 3 fumbles are starting to get a big deal. Just clean that up a little bit. And then I also got Chase Roberts, a receiver. He's going to be a senior this year. He had 52 receptions, 854 yards, and 4 touchdowns. On the defensive side, this is where BYU shines. Jack Kelly will be back. It's his last year. Linebacker. He will be a senior. He had 51 total tackles, 33 solos, 5 sacks, 14 quarterback hurries, which that is great. He had 2 forced fumbles, 1 INT, and 1 pass deflection. And I go up to the safety position in Tanner Wall. He will also be a senior. So you're going to be losing key pieces this year. So this is a perfect time to win the Big 12 if I was BYU. He had 53 tackles, 31 solo, 3 INTs, and 1 pass defended. And also, they were very low in transfer. So BYU really retained a lot of folks as they could. They only allowed 19 points. They averaged only 19 20.6 points per game against them. So their defense, that's why they're number one. Stopped teams to below 20 in college football. That's awesome. And their strengths was the D-line. But this is where it might go down for BYU because they did lose their star, Tyler Beatty, or Batty, whatever you want to say, in some rotational pieces. So they're going to have to figure out some people to cover that D-line. But that is why I will have BYU in number 6.
Sorry, I was trying to look at the quarterback thing. I was trying to see if I found anything. My phone won't pick it up. Number 6. No, that's what I'm saying. My phone wasn't where it was just slow to load. I took it off the Wi-Fi. I'm not trying to ruin this. So I'm just like, let me just not play with it right now. Number 6, I have Baylor, and it's for a lot of the same reasons that y'all have already spoken about. That is a high-powered offense that is coming back. Another thing that we need to start focusing on, I think, with Baylor is they're in the top 15 of the most production coming back. I want to say they're sitting around 11th in the country for most players coming back. And so you think about it, they're pretty much just gearing back up, if that makes sense. Offensive firepower, Sawyer Robinson, you already talked about him. Bryson Washington, 1,000-yard rusher over here, with Josh Cameron and Hawkins both equaling out to 1,400 yards receptions total. So I think just with this high-powered offense, it's going to be hard to stop them just returning. I think the question is, can they get on with a defense that can match, right? If they can start stopping teams, not getting into so many shootouts, you're looking at a team that is primed for a run. This is also an interesting one when we talk about Baylor. Baylor's going to have, as far as the schedule, there's going to be some interesting matchups, and I'll kind of get into those matchups later when we get into these other teams. But Baylor with this high-powered offense, I'm excited for. I think they can do some big things here. So that's number 6 for me.
Yes, that means it's me. I was also trying to.
Yeah, I got you. Did you find anything?
I was trying to. Yeah. It was cute. Intense affliction.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, if he does play, do you think that kind of changes your?
It absolutely. Well, no. I actually. I did my BYU based off of him starting.
Okay.
I figured I could change it if he was found guilty. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you get a pass.
If he's found guilty, then yeah. But, sure. You know, in this country, in this great country of America, you are innocent until proven guilty. And so
exactly.
I'm treated as such, damn it. And if you are found guilty, fuck you, you piece of shit. If not, then I rock with you, you know. We remember Sean Oakman. Anyway, yeah. My number 5 team is another version of the Big 12. Yeah. My number 5 team is Utah. I believe Evan talked about him. I'm going to list some names. Let me know if you talked about them so I don't go in depth on them. I have
Cam Rising.
Running back. He retired. What about him? He cooked finally. About damn time. Brother finally tear his ACL coaching, and he's good. Running back Wayshawn Parker. You talk about that, man?
I did not have Wayshawn Parker.
So almost 1,000 yards rushing, 400. Good Lord, that'd be a lot of touchdowns. Boy, I tell you.
That's Heisman in that bag.
A shit ton of touchdowns. 4 touchdowns, 108 passing yards with 1 touchdown there. He's gonna have to step it up a little bit. There's not much that I could tell. I mean, I feel like I find it funny that it's our show, but I feel like Austin's more the expert than both of us in this shit.
For sure.
Yeah, you know, but. I feel like he's probably going to have to step it up. I don't see much more coming out of that offense than him. I mean, you do have Ryan Davis, the receiver. Y'all were talking about the quarterback. I didn't know anything about the quarterback. Y'all apparently, I guess I'm not a ball knower. Y'all knew about that guy. I did not. What's his name?
Dan Pierre.
Evan Dan Pierre.
Dan Pierre. Well, if he's gonna throw it to anybody, goddamn it better be Ryan Davis, because that mother trucker was 747 yards for 3 TDs. He's gonna have to step it up a little bit more. I think you want to get 1,000 yards out of that man, and at least 6, 7 TDs out of him. But if Wayshawn and him can step up, I think you got an absolutely lethal offense. DB, I'm lying. I got 2 linebackers up on here. Crazy
There you
enough.
go.
I got Lander Barton.
I talked about him as well.
You talked about him? Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to get too much into him. Just know he's an absolute behemoth of a human being. I'm not getting into his size because I don't want the size jokes coming back my way.
Suck him. You might as well say it. You might as well say
What is his size?
6'5", 236. An absolute behemoth of a human being. Yeah.
Big dude.
Absolute behemoth.
It's a big dude.
2 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 2 INTs, 1 pick six. I mean,
and
hey,
so
they
that
say
goes
size
into
don't matter,
what?
but to me, size matters. All right, size fucking matters.
But that goes with what we've already said, right? Like they're gonna have a solid defense. They always do. Like
yeah.
Utah's defense
I
is
do
always
feel like
something.
they're one of the few people that I can say are linebacker U. They always have a monster ass white boy at linebacker. I mean, don't know what it is about Utah and them Mormons, but they got something going on. I also have Lavani.
It's all the Mountain Dew they drink.
Damuni?
That ain't even right. I don't know.
Domini? I'm illiterate, but it's something around those lines. All right. He's 6'3", 246, 87 total tackles, 43 solos. He big size, decent size. Obviously a good little run stopper. Probably needs to get a couple more tackles, both of them. But obviously Lander did a little bit more on the passing side. I feel like Lavani is more of a run stopper, so I'm going to need a little bit more than 87 total tackles. I want to see you kind of up in the 100 mark if you're a run stopper. But other than that, yeah, number 5. What were you saying? Their coach is a lot like
Kyle Whittingham.
Thank you. Kyle Whittingham is a lot like I'm going blank right now. Gundy. There we go. I'm having brain farts left and right.
He's been there for so long, and he's done good there at Utah, man.
Yeah, it's just hard to question him. And I feel like he's done a lot better with Utah than Gundy has done with Oklahoma. That I felt a little more comfortable putting him at the 5 spot. And when I go back to the Big 12, it's such a fucking toss up that it's just. You don't fucking know. You don't know. So I just went ahead and threw Utah at 5.
I like it.
My number 5. All right, this is like Tyler. Sorry, Austin said that these 7 could actually win it. This is gonna be my red zone. Any of these 5, you tell me they win. Like, cool. My number 5. I think honestly, these 5s are all dictated by one game. So I mean. That's what I think it is, because last year I believe
you're saying any of these teams can be 10 or 11 win teams right here. Like they're going for it.
Any of these teams. It just depends on who you face this week. My number 5 is Arizona State. I think I had them losing to Iowa State head up. I don't remember. I wrote that down somewhere else, but they play Iowa State. It's just later in the year. It's just up to these one of these games later down the road. They also play Baylor early in the season. That's a tough team. Because I have Baylor high up there, and they have Iowa State, and they have Texas Tech in the middle. They have a little bit of a tough schedule. I think those are capable losses. Arizona, but if they win, I mean, they might be number 1 again. They were 11-3 last year, 7-2 in the conference. They beat Kansas State 24-14. They beat BYU 28-23. I think that was the end of the year. They did lose. Actually, what's funny, they did lose to Texas Tech. 22-30. They also lost to Cincinnati 14-24. This team was 4th in offense, 3rd in defense. Sam Levitt, y'all have already touched on him. That dude's a stud. I think he might be the best quarterback in the Big 12, but there is a guy right behind him I think could take that spot. We already talked about Jordan Tyson, 1,000-yard receiver. That's cool. Defense, Javion Robinson, a corner. He had 43 total tackles, 33 solos, 1 forced fumble, 3 INTs, and 4 pass deflection. This Arizona State team is going to be good on defense, just like last year. Miles Rouser was already brought up by Aaron, so we're not going to go too far in depth. So the transfers are at a low. Their retention is at a high. They only had only a safety was replaced with transfers. They also got a couple of depth pieces, so they had a couple of transfers come in as just a depth. Their secondary, but the thing is, they are ranked third, but their secondary ranked 81st against the pass. So they had a leaky secondary. That's why the depth in the secondary might be a huge step for Arizona State. Get those guys, because you watch them play Texas, and Texas just had these second guys coming in, and you could see Arizona State was just dog tired by the end of it. You saw Cam Scatterbo throwing up. You just saw folks, they were just tired. So maybe this is why they focus on getting a couple more pieces in the second and third position. I mean, you never know. But
Speaking of Texas, Austin, fuck your hat. Moving on.
I wanted to bring up, Aaron said, who will replace Cam Scatterbo? I have a guy for you.
Yeah.
Kanye Udo. He had
Army.
1,000.
You ain't replacing Cam Scatterbo. Sorry.
He had almost 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns. The dude's from Army. Them motherfuckers know how to run the ball. That's a team I trust any running back.
He's going to be good.
And
It'll be a lot easier for him.
I think they're...
Sorry.
You're not replacing Cam. You're not replacing Cam.
There's a high chance you can.
That's like saying you're going to replace Ashton Genty. You're just not going to do it. You're not. You can get close, but you're not going to repeat that production.
I feel like an Army guy could do it. Kanye Udo. Look at them, man. Fire guy. But they're 79% in production returning. So you're basically getting the same team without Cam Scatterbo, like we said. But maybe if Kanye Udo, he goes in there, and even if he's pretty close, they're going to be about the same spot. So this team can go anywhere from 5, 4, 3, 2, or 1. I don't see them getting any lower than 5.
Fair.
That's my number 5 team.
Are you on me now?
Yes, sir.
My number 5 team is Iowa State. All right. I like Iowa State, and for the reasons that I like Iowa State, I am huge on Matt Campbell. Okay. Matt Campbell is a culture builder. I mean, you look at this Iowa State team, he's kind of going against the grain. Not purposely. It's not like he's actively like wording it out. But what he's been doing is he's been able to keep his players, and I think that's really hard to do. Like, he's realizing, like, I'm actually growing and developing my own players. I'm not really going to the transfer portal too heavy. I've got guys that I'm developing, and they're wanting to stay 2-3 years, and I think that's important. And they're starting to get up on a really good defense. So they're the number 1 pass defense in the country, 165 yards allowed per game. I think that's huge, especially when you're in the Big 12, even though the Big 12 is kind of, we probably all notice it, the Big 12 is kind of doing this shift where it's not so much of the pass-heavy conference. They still pass it, but you remember back in the day when Oklahoma with Lincoln Riley's, the Cliff Kingsbury, the offensive tech, even Texas throwing, you had a lot of those. I think we're starting to shift where a lot of them are starting to adapt to that. We're going to try and run the ball. But to still only allow 165 passing yards a game as a defense secondary, I think that's really big on Iowa State. They do need to improve on the run defense. I think somebody said that about Iowa State. The run defense is very questionable on that one, on Iowa State. And so, but you got a team that can stop the pass, and you have a guy named Rocco at quarterback, 3,500 yards passing. I mean, you got him coming back. He's a big one. And I think one of the interesting things, it was really hard for me picking Baylor and Iowa State. Obviously Baylor 6, Iowa State 5. It was interesting because that's going to be, I think that's an early September or September 20th matchup. Baylor versus Iowa State. That could be playoff implications, right? Like, we're going to see fairly early, September 20th, which one of these teams is going to be the ones that could possibly get in that Big 12 championship. Like, that could be an early decider, right? Because if you get down the line and everybody's up here and everybody's fighting for it, it's like, well, what were those head-to-head matches? You know what I mean? You get to see Sawyer Robinson and Rocco get after it in September 20th to kind of see like, hey, let's fire it up. But I decided, well, Iowa State does have the better defensive passing defense, so I picked Iowa State for 5. That is my TED talk.
I didn't know. I'm gonna check. I didn't know if they played.
Iowa State and Baylor.
Yeah, I didn't write that down. Maybe I don't know.
Ooh, am I thinking Arizona State and Baylor?
Yeah.
Is that September
You had
23rd?
Arizona State.
Arizona State.
Let
They
me
don't
see.
have Iowa.
Yeah, but still,
Okay.
Hey,
Sorry.
but you know
So
what?
okay, that's what I was thinking. That's what I was
We
thinking.
are
The Will
not
Levitt
experts.
versus Sawyer Robinson early. Yeah, my bad. You're right.
No, you're good. It's
Arizona
still
State,
a
Iowa State.
deciding game though. I still think
For sure.
those two
No,
will
for
be-
sure. That's my bad. I think we were talking about Arizona
They do
State.
have
somebody already
they
put
do
them
have
first.
Utah. Baylor does have Utah late.
That'll be a fun one. Yeah, that'll be a fun.
God, dude, this Big 12, these 5 are gonna be ridiculous.
Yeah. So my number
Iowa
4
State at
team.
5.
My number 4 team is BYU. Go Mormons, huh? We have the
Go
Jake
Mormons.
Retzloff. I was going to make a terrible joke, but we don't know if he's innocent or guilty yet, so I will hold off on those jokes.
Let's just
For
hold off
now.
for like,
Just know, the minute you're found guilty, I will be slinging them bitches. He threw for almost 3,000 yards, 20 TDs to 12 INTs. You want to see them turnovers kind of go down a little bit, obviously. He also rushed for almost 500 yards, 6 rushing TDs. I wrote down in my notes maybe locked up part of the chain gang. We don't know yet. We don't know yet.
Good Lord.
What? You can give me that look. He the one that possibly did this shit, all right? Not me.
That man really said that he might be going from moving the chains to being in the chains.
Yeah,
Good Lord.
y'all give me the like, oh Lord, he said that. Oh Lord, he might have done it. All right, like that ain't on me. It ain't my fault. All right, I'm just reporting the news. Okay.
and if he did do it, fair enough, Aaron. Go after him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But if he didn't, he does have this guy, Chase Roberts, to throw to. He's 6'4", 210 pounds. That's hey, fuck it, Chase is down there somewhere, you know? Almost had
Bitch up.
1,000 yards, four TDs. He's starting to when I did my research, he looks kind of like the only help that man's going to have. I mean, I'm not too sure. I wasn't too versed on BYU last year. Until a little late. Obviously when they were making that push, I figured they would fall off. Whenever I heard BYU was kind of popping off, I was kind of like, yeah, but it's BYU. They're going to fall off.
Didn't they take down like Kansas State early?
Yeah, then they ended up not falling off.
Yeah.
They just kind of kept going up until like the last 2 games of the season. So I'm not too versed on them, but they do have a Tanner Wall at defensive back, who had 53 total tackles and 3 interceptions, who's going to be a big help, I believe, this year. Being a senior, going to be one of the leaders. You also have Isaiah Glasker, I believe is how you say his name. I'm a man of size. Size matters. 6'5", 235, another absolute mountain of a man. 70 total tackles, 3.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble. 3 interceptions, one of those being a pick 6. I mean, that dude is obviously probably the anchor of your defense at linebacker. He's got all the work, and he's got all the size. He's got everything you want in a backer. So my number 4 team, as long as the quarterback is there, I can't emphasize that enough. BYU at number 4.
Got you. And I'm going to go number 4. I'm going to go Kansas State. Like I said, these teams can switch. They're interchangeable. Kansas State, they do have Utah That's going to be one of the second to last team that they face. So that's going to be huge. They also play Baylor in the middle of this schedule, so it's going to be huge. Also Texas Tech as well. So Kansas State got a little bit of a tough schedule there with those three teams. 9-4 last year, 5-4 in conference. They had some up and downs this year. Let's be honest. We thought Kansas State were going to be a lot better than they were last year, even though they finished pretty well. We thought they were going to be on the top.
I was about to say they still did good.
Sage.
They still did good. I honestly thought top three. I don't remember where they finished, but they were pretty close. They had those losses. Like they lost to Iowa State, Arizona State, but those turned out to be really great.
I'm pretty sure they finished third. Like they're.
Okay, well then, yeah, there we go. Then actually, I don't know.
I think it was Iowa State that got them out of the Big 12 championship.
Was it okay? So I've been wrong. Sorry about that, y'all. I just thought maybe. I just didn't know. I just thought some of those losses. Yeah, exactly. I fucked up there. Cool. They did beat Arizona 31-7, and they beat Colorado 31-28. So the Big 12 rankings, they were 8th in offense, 7th in defense. So it's not too bad. Their quarterback, Avery Johnson, is something I wanted to touch up on. This guy's going to be really good, or he's already pretty good. He threw for 2,712 yards, 58 completion percentage. He had 25 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. In his rushing, he is a dual threat quarterback. He had 113 attempts, 605 yards, and 7 touchdowns. And then I also wanted to highlight Dylan Edwards because DJ Giddens got drafted to the Colts, so he's not having to share the running back room with him anymore, so he should be the starter. He played all 12 games. He started 6, so this year he can start pretty much all of them. It just depends on what the game plan is. He had 74 attempts, 546 yards, 5 touchdowns. He averaged 7 yards per carry. That's exactly what you want from a running back. That's amazing.
Who's this?
Dylan Edwards. Receptions, he had 19 receptions, 133 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But the running back room, we do have a sophomore in Joe Jackson and Gabe Jr. Irvin, a senior. So we don't know how much they're going with a 2-back, like they did last year. We don't know. I just think Dylan Edwards will take the majority of the snaps this year, and he might possibly get to that 800 range to 1,000. We'll see how that is. Speaking of offense, I kind of wanted to talk about this fun fact that I found. Kansas State is the only Power 4 team to have 3 players average at least 5.5 yards per rush. And those guys consist of DJ Giddens, Dylan Edwards, and Avery Johnson. So this team, heavy on the run game. And then for the defense, you got Austin Romaine. He's a linebacker junior. He had 96 total tackles, 54 solos, 7.5 tackles for losses, 2 sacks, 4 quarterback hurries, and 3 forced fumbles. And that's a dog. Also, Amarian Fortenberry. He's a corner. He's a sophomore. 45 total tackles, 31 solos, 1 forced fumbles, 2 INTs, 7 pass defended, 2 tackles for losses, and only they have like three transfers that are projected as starters. So this team, almost the same. You're about to get a dog of a team. They have the schedule's not too hard, but they got some tough teams in there. And that's my number 4.
My number 4, I picked BYU as well. I think Kalani's doing a great job over there at BYU and what he's doing there. I mean, they led the Big 12 in points allowed total defense. So they always have a good defense. It's BYU. You kind of think of BYU like you think of those Kansas States. Like, well, we're going to run the ball and we're going to stop. We're going to stop you on defense. So he's got that consistently. The big question, once again, we're all saying it's the quarterback thing. I don't know. I know they're going to have a defense. I know they're going to play consistent ball. Is their quarterback going to be there, right? And if their quarterback's going to be there, well, here we are. They're in it again. I kind of want to find this interesting. Have you ever noticed when you're watching BYU, or at least last year, like they win during the night games for sure. Like when it's like a late night game. I have not noticed that. I don't know how many games they have that are in the nighttime, but if they play a lot of night games, that gets dangerous. BYU is like really good. I don't know if there's like a pattern I could see for that. Like betting like, hey, every time there's a day game, don't bet BYU. But if it's a nighttime, BYU wins. So I got BYU at 4, but I think it all hinges on, like you said, the quarterback. Like what's going to happen there. I know they're going to have a good defense. Kalani does good there. They're going to be consistent. Will they have that quarterback to kind of push them, get them to the top? So BYU at 4. Where's your 3?
My 3, fun fact, is Kansas State. I think they're pretty vetted coming back. If you've been on this podcast or if you've listened, I'm a big advocate for vetted teams. I do feel like Kansas State is one of those teams. I don't think they're vetted enough to take over or anything, but like Evan said, I'm not going to hound it. They do have Avery Johnson, who is an absolute animal in the dual threat game. He does need to pick it up, I think, in the passing game specifically, because if he can't throw the ball, then what the fuck are we doing in the Big 12? I know Austin was saying that times are kind of changing in the Big 12, but they ain't changed yet. All right, you gotta be able to air that bitch out. If you can't air that bitch out, then what the hell are we doing? I'm glad you can run a 4.340 or whatever it was. I'm glad you're probably one of the fastest guys in the Big 12. Good for you. Can you throw the ball? And I know you can. You almost threw for 3,000 yards. It's just you got to turn 10 turnovers, 10 INTs. We gotta drop that down. I probably want about 3,500 passing yards. And if he can hit that, then I think they are a force to be reckoned with. He has Jace Brown to throw to, almost 1,000-yard receiver with 5 TDs. He has to be the big-time threat, though. He has to be the guy Avery Johnson can count on to get the ball to. They don't have too much on the receiving core, so if Jace Brown can get that shit done, then like I said, they are a force to be reckoned with. I did have a Morion Fortenberry with you, Evan, so I'm not going to pound him too much. Actually, I'm not going to pound him at all. I'm not going to talk about him at all.
That's good. I'm glad you're not going to try and pound him.
There's with your pounding, huh?
Hey, it's a Tuesday, all right? It's a Tuesday.
What a weird day to do a podcast, by the way.
Hey, we do what we can, all right? We got shit going on. But I also have DB VJ Payne. 6'3", 205, 64 total tackles, 39 solos, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 INTs. So absolutely killing it in the secondary. I think they put it. To me, they got a team that they could put together, and like y'all are saying, at this point, it's all just a toss up, and I think they could fuck around and they could win the Big 12. But I have them at 3.
My number 3, you already touched up on them. I'm going to go Iowa State. I think I had them winning a late game at the end. They do have Arizona State at the end, TCU, which I think is a tough team. They go to TCU, so I think a little bit of a trap. You're also playing Kansas, and I really believe Kansas is going to steal one of them from the top teams. I don't know why. I just have that feeling. It's a gut reaction. I don't know which one. I'm not putting a bet. I'm not the betting expert. That will be Austin Ross. We'll talk about that later in another episode. Iowa State, they were 11-3, 7-2 in conference. Some of the wins I wanted to highlight. I'm just going to talk about one. Kansas State, they beat them 29-21. The losses I want to throw out there, they did lose to Kansas 36-45. They also lost to Texas Tech 22-23. They were 7-0 before that game. And I think they played a really sloppy game against Tech. Tech's defense showed up. That's crazy, but they showed up. In the Big 12, they were 7th in offense, 5th in defense. The quarterback, Rocco Becht, I think, Austin, you've already touched up on him. I got Carson Hansen as another key player for him. Running back, 151 attempts, 752 yards. He averaged about 5 yards per carry, 13 touchdowns. I'd take 13 touchdowns any day. He wasn't really a receiving back. I just threw his stats out there. He had 13 receptions, 88 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 fumbles. And the defense, I'm going to go with Caleb Bacon. Love the name. He's going to be a linebacker. He's going to be a senior this year.
Love the name.
He
He
keeps
has
that foot
60
loose,
total
baby.
tackles. He has 60 total tackles, 36 solos, 6.5 tackles for losses, 3 sacks, 8 quarterback hurries, and 1 forced fumble. He was second in tacklers in 2023, but then he has a lower leg injury, and then he missed 2024. So this is his year back. I just wrote him down because I love the name. Just love the last name Bacon. Go for it. And then I got John. Right, and then I got Jontez Williams, a cornerback. He had 46 total tackles, 23 solos, 4 INTs, 5 pass defended, and the transfers are not too high. About 5 offense and defense each, so only about 10 really. They have a couple depth pieces, but these are just projected starters I wrote down. But I will say the thing about Iowa State that I can see them going low. They do lose their 2 1,000 yards receivers, and Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins. So they must find guys to replace them, but I think Iowa State will be just fine. And that is why they are my number 3 team.
At number 3 for me, I have Kansas State. I'm really excited about Kansas State right here. And, you think of Chris Kleinman as the head coach. He's also one of those coaches you think consistency, right? He's always up there. He's winning. You're going to get a top defense, very experienced defensive front as far as the line linebackers. Obviously, we already know about Avery Johnson. I don't need to get into him, right? I think he's going to improve this year. He did good. He can do better. I think he will improve. And it's going to be a run by committee, right? We already talked about how they lost their best running back, right? And Judson. Judson. That didn't sound
Giddens?
Giddens. Judson is Ohio State. Yeah, DJ Giddens. It's going to go on the backs of Dylan Edwards and Joe Jackson. I think those two are going to be a run by committee, obviously, because they both had some pretty good playing time in it. And so it's one of those teams where the offense is just going to improve. You're going to get the consistent defense. I think Kleiman's going to be there again. He's going to be in the talk. And they're going to be at that – I think they're going to be at that 9-10 wins once again. Unless they start to slip up with some of those teams that we already mentioned, right, in that 7 to 4 spot. We could see a slip up there with those teams, but I think it's hard right now to go against Kleiman with those returners and some strong running back. So I'm excited. I got Kansas State at 3. Who was our top 2?
My number 2 team, I have Iowa State. I mean, Austin talked about he touched up on Rocco Beck. I'm gonna go in depth on Rocco Beck. Evan was talking about who were you talking about being the best quarterback in the Big 12?
Sam Levitt.
Well, I'm gonna argue that. I think it's probably gonna be Rocco Beck. I mean, that dude is an absolute animal. I mean, that dude. I love everything about his game. He threw for 3,500 yards, 25 TDs to only 9 INTs. Now, I go back to. I mean, at that point, you're kind of flirting with. You're doing great on the turnover TD to turnover ratio. I do want to see a little less, but even though he's still not a mobile QB, but he still had 300 rushing yards to 8 rushing TDs. So, excuse me, he can still get in. I think he is primed for his breakout year. I think this is the year of Rocco Beck. I mean, the dude is an absolute stud.
Think you'll see him in New York?
Do what?
Think you'll see him in New York?
Oh, Heisman? I don't know why I
breakout
thought
year.
Giants. I was thinking the Giants for some reason. I was like, no, dude, they just had Jackson Dart, bro. You're gonna have to give him a couple years.
I'm agreeing with Aaron. He's saying a breakout year from 3,500 yards. Like, so you're saying like you might see him in New York as one of the finals, not winning it, but he could be there.
I think there's a strong possibility. I'm gonna have to wait till the end of my breakdown of college football before I say Heisman. But I love me some Rocco Beck. I
meant just finals, not winning.
Talk about him. Yeah, I don't think enough people talk about Rocco Beck. That dude is an absolute animal. And he's also got Chase Sewell. Penei Sewell. Yeah. Chase Sewell to throw to. 6'4" target. I mean, big boy. I mean, tall. When I say big boy, tall boy to throw to. He had. Oh, okay. Yeah. He had almost 1,000 yards receiving for 3 touchdowns. Um, I mean, at this point, who you got to throw to besides him? I'm not too sure. I'm sure y'all had another guy that y'all talked about. I don't know because I don't remember. Um, so, but I'm really big on Rocco Beck. I'm gonna go back to him. Defensively, you got Jeremiah Cooper. Interrupt me if y'all talked about him. Uh, you know, Senior, 48 tackles, 2 INTs. I mean, not bad at all. Then you have Juantes, however you say his name, Williams.
Yeah, I talked about that boy.
You talked about him. All right, so I'm gonna get into depth. Had 4 INTs last year. That's big. That's big. You need more of that. And if they can channel if the defense can channel what they did last year, and Rocco Beck can just kind of break the spot he's at. If he can just get past where he's at, then I think Iowa State is primed for a great year. And you never know. The Big 12 could fuck around and get 2 teams into the playoffs.
All right. Well, my number 2 team, I think is going to be Baylor. I'm really high on this team, and I think Sawyer Robinson will either be 1 or 2 with Sam Levitt. I got Rocco Beck third, but who knows? This Baylor team, like Austin said, this offense, high-powered offense, man, scary team to face. They were 8-5 last year, 6-3 in conference play. Some of the wins I wanted to jot down was a blowout in Lubbock, fucked us up, 59-35. This was the start of their 6-game win streak. We caught them at a terrible time. Jeez. And then they also beat TCU. TCU they got the high-powered offense as well, 37-34. They lost to Colorado. Wasn't that the Hail Mary? Ridiculous Hail Mary, wasn't it? To bring it into overtime, and then Colorado won. I think that was the game, Baylor and Colorado. And then lost to BYU. That was that's ridiculous. Lost to BYU by 7. Is that a night game?
I think it was a night game.
I don't know.
Something about BYU.
Damn, okay. You might be onto something. Someone look at that up.
Don't play him at night, dude. Aaron, can
Baylor
you look at
was
the times
second.
He played and look at the win.
Yeah, fair enough. Baylor was second in offense, Big 12. It's just crazy. That high-powered offense is second. He's chilling. He's feeling good.
Chilling, bro.
11th in defense.
I'm just listening.
Good. Sawyer Robinson. Aaron left him for me. Thank you very much, man. He's going to be a senior this year, so he's going to go out with a bang. He had 3,071 yards, 62%, 28 touchdowns, 8 INTs, great ratio. His rushing, not much of a rusher, 65 attempts, 230 yards, 4 touchdowns. And I wanted to highlight the backfield, Bryson Washington, running back. He's going to be a sophomore, 175 attempts, 1,000 yards, averaged almost 6 a carry, 12 touchdowns, and his receiving, he had 22 receptions, 217 yards. And the defense, we've already talked about Keaton Thomas and Devin Bobby. I think Aaron talked about them. And this offensive line has, or not offensive line, but this offense have only had 1 transfer projected starter that's going to be a receiver. So you're only getting 1 new guy, really. They finished with that 6-game win streak in the regular season. They lost to LSU in the bowl game, where Sawyer Robinson threw for 445 yards, 2 touchdowns and 1 INT. Even though it was a loss, that offense was still high-powered. They are great in pass protection. Their offensive line is not like big and humongous and like great, but they're able to hold blocks. They're just, it's one of those. They're good at it. They're just not elite. But they're highlighted by Omar Agdion or something. He's a guard. I don't know how to say his name. And Colton Price as a center. So those guys are going to be leading the offensive line. I think Baylor, their defense, I think will struggle. Austin did talk about it, but I think this offense is going to be so high powered that it's going to be hard to even lose. And that's why they're my number 2.
Gotcha. Well, guys, this is where I might go into a little bit of a rant, if you will. So I'm going to talk about number 2 for me is the Texas Tech Red Raiders at number 2. I'll explain why I put them in 2, not 1. And there are some good reasons, but I also need to go on a rant and defend some of the things that some have been said about Tech and some expectations that I think are maybe unnecessary. All right. So,
Hey, first off, speaking of Tech, fuck your hat. Moving on.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Someone take this guy's drink away.
Nah, he's good.
Somebody take this guy's hat away. All right.
Can't now that I'm talking about Tech. I got to keep it on while I talk to him. So,
there we go.
One of the big things, obviously, we know the elephant in the room with Texas Tech. Transfer portal giants this year, right? Like number 2 recruiting class this year, and then also through transfers and what they've done. I mean, they went out and they spent money. Love it. No problem. Let's throw some oil money in it and let's get going. Let's try and roll with the big dogs. I'm excited for what Tech can possibly do this year. I am so excited. What we need to stop doing, and I think it has to do with this generation coming up. I don't know if it's like they're just so big on TikTok. Everybody has short, attention spans. They're very, yeah. It's not only that, but they're easily like they want the quick fix, and if it doesn't happen now, it's no good. I want to remind people that we once had a legendary coach. He's going to be put into the Hall of Fame. Does everybody know that guy? Anybody know that guy?
Mike Leach.
Yeah, Mike Leach. If you're a Tech fan, you know Mike Leach, right? Mike Leach, legendary.
I'm not a Tech fan, but I know Mike Leach because fuck.
Does anybody know Mike Leach's? Does anybody know Mike? Okay, yeah. Does anybody know Mike Leach's record? His first 3 seasons, going into his 4th season coaching Tech. 23-16. 1-2 in bowl games. That was Mike Leach's going into his 4th. Joey McGuire going into his 4th season at Texas Tech is 23-16, 2-1 in bowl games. And the fact that people would act like he needs to be on the hot seat, the pressure is on him. If he can't get it done with this money, we need to get rid of him. You wouldn't have said, if we did that about Mike Leach, we'd have been missing out on some great football, all right? The guy's doing great. And I think it's going to get even better, not only because of the transfers. That's not even the big topic for me. It's the coaching staff. I'm going back to the coaching staff, kind of like what Mike Gundy did. Joey McGuire has put in an all-star coaching staff with the OC, starting with the OC, okay? Mike Leftwich at OC. He got a new OC and a new DC. Mike Leftwich, the OC. He was the OC at Texas State. Very prolific offense of what he did at Texas State. The numbers that Texas State put up on offense is amazing, okay? And so he's going to bring that into Texas Tech. Sidebar, that same OC for Texas State, obviously Mike Leftwich, before Texas State, guess where he was at?
Wait.
Little old college known Incarnate Word, where everybody knows Cam Ward was there. He was the person that recruited Cam Ward, and that's where he's the one that found Cam Ward. And obviously Cam Ward's going to go on to transfer from Incarnate Word. And so he's bringing that offensive style into Tech. And we already know Tech is about offense, but now we're bringing in a guy who's going to have these weapons, and he's going to be able to do what he did with Texas State and what he did with Incarnate Word. On the defensive side, obviously, DC, we got Sheil Wood. Now, Sheil Wood was the defensive coordinator under Jeff Monken in the Army, and then he would leave, and he would go to Tulane. Tulane, remember in 2000, what was it? They did so good. Defensively, I think he was also the defense coordinator for Houston. Sheil Wood, and every place he has went to, he has never had a defense that wasn't within the top 25 defensively. So we have an opportunity to not only obviously have the Texas Tech offense, but you're also going to have a defense on it as well. If Sheil Wood can do what he does with Tulane, Army, I think it's Houston. I might be getting the wrong team, but that's what's going on. Strength of schedule for me, it's relatively easier. I never want to say easier comparatively. The road games I am worried about, obviously we have Arizona State, we have Kansas State. I think I have it on here. We have Utah, right? Like those are some big road games that we're going to have to, I'd like to go 2-1 at least. And based on my ranking, you're on the road against my number 1, which I'll talk about, and number 3 that I have in Kansas State. So I think it's a big opportunity here. I just wish people would stop putting so much pressure on Joey McGuire. Like he isn't doing a good job. He's literally on track, just a little better than what Mike Leach was doing. So obviously, if that can make a Hall of Fame coach, I think he's doing good. I think he's going to do good things. I think he's made the right moves with the OC and DC, and obviously throwing money at this transfer portal. So that's why I have Texas Tech at number 2.
Gotta unmute myself now. I want to say where I'm gonna argue with you. My number 1 team is Texas Tech, obviously. Saying that, hat absolutely disgusting. Moving on. Here my thing is, if they were so quick to move off Mike Leach, who's a Hall of Fame coach, yes, you're right. But now give Mike Leach a however many $1 million roster, and he still underperforms. They're fucking firing him. I'm sorry. So I do think this is a make or break year for McGuire. So
I just want to argue that one point before you move on. You're right, but what Joey McGuire has done is without that. You see what I'm saying? Like he has been doing it on pace without the money. This is just 1 year. We wouldn't know. So that was my only thing, my pushback.
What I'm saying is you compared McGuire's season or McGuire's Tech career to Leach's career, and you said it's very eerily similar. Leach didn't have that McGuire did get is an absolute influx of money to bring people in. It's not always comparing.
It's only this year Joey McGuire has the money. Yeah.
I think they booed him.
I'm fine with that, but you kept wording it wrong.
Since they gave him the money, they're like, hey, we can give you money, we're going to slice you some money. You don't do good, get the fuck out.
Yeah. Gotcha.
That's what
you're saying. This year he was given the money, so you better do something this year.
I'm saying, I'm looking at it as whoever was given the money for Tech. I'm looking at it from their perspective, where it's like, hey, you're doing like you said, you're doing as good as Leach. We gave you the money. You don't do shit, like skedat.
I got you.
But I do believe that he does pull around. I do think he does great. I think he wins the Big 12. He's got Barron Morton, which everybody's talking about some of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12, and nobody's talking about Barron Morton like he can't be there. Okay. So I do think Tech does pull it off. I go back to, everybody's talking about some of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12, and nobody's talking about Barron Morton like he didn't throw almost 3,500 yards passing, 27 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. Like, I think he's another player that could have a breakout year. And I know you're saying Heisman. I don't know if it's that crazy of a year for him, but I do think he is. Huh?
Yeah,
well, you're saying like go to New York with Rocco Beck is what I'm referring to, because he was about at that point. Let me go back and look at his yardage real quick.
I don't know who said that.
Let me go back and look at his yardage real quick. Rocco. 35. So he almost had 35, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I wanted to repeat that I think Barron Morton's primed for a break, like a better year, I should probably say, instead of a breakout year. A better year. I don't know if he makes it to New York, but I do think they got a team around him now. They got a receiver, Caleb Douglas, 6'4", almost 1,000-yard receiver, 6 touchdowns, 4.3 40 at that size is pretty crazy to me. That dude is probably going to be his prime target if I had anything to say about it, at least. I mean, tall motherfucker who can run really fast. Yeah, I'm throwing it his way. They got A.J. McCarty at defensive back, 32 tackles, 2 INTs, 1 pick six. And then they have a guy that I really wanted to talk about. Jacob Rodriguez at linebacker, right? 6'1", 230, 127 total tackles as a linebacker. 77 of those were just his alone, right? He had 5 sacks and then 3 forced fumbles and 1 interception. You want to talk about Mr. Do-It-All, That is your plug and play. That is your guy on the defense, right? Everything runs around it, revolves around him. And I can't remember if he was a transfer in or not. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I was about to say, I'm pretty sure he was just one of your guys. And absolute animal, absolute animal. Almost 130 total tackles. Absolute, yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolute animal, dude. And I love it. So I do have Texas Tech winning the Big 12.
All right. My number one team is going to be Texas Tech. 8-5 last year, 6-3 in conference play. Some of the wins I wanted to point out: we beat both teams that made it to the Big 12 championship. We beat Iowa State. We beat Arizona State. We lost to Washington State with John Mateer. He whooped our ass. I think it was week 2 or something, and then lost to Baylor.
John Mateer. I think he's gonna be fun at Oklahoma.
Yeah. Our Big 12, we were first in offense, 15th in defense. Aaron already talked about Caleb Douglas. I'm not going to talk about it. You also got another receiver, Coy Aiken. This is going to be one of the best receiving cores in the Big 12. And I also want to talk about Baron
you were
Morton.
talking about receiving core. Do you think Micah Hudson's going to do something here now that we let him back?
See, that's the thing. I don't know.
Either.
It's just such a stacked. I don't know what's going on. I honestly
Seems
think
so
give him another
flaky.
year.
Dude just left.
Yeah.
Came back. I was like,
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
be a good receiving core though. Yeah.
I know he was going through some mental shit. And that's why he left Tech, went to A&M, left A&M because he was going through mental shit, and then came back to Tech. So what he does, I don't know. I didn't talk about him because I was unsure. But I feel like he could have a nice little year. But what he does, I don't know.
And I think that's a fair point. We don't know where the hell he's at, and if he does, to his potential, he had a couple great games at Tech. I would say he had a couple clutch catches.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
didn't use him fair, but when he was out there, you saw some highlights. We're talking about Baron Morton. Y'all already talked about it. I'm a little worried about Baron Morton. The injuries. I think he just had a shoulder surgery. I'm a little nervous about it. I'm also thinking about Will Hammond. If he has to step up, you have the offense around you. You started your first game against Arkansas in the bowl game. We didn't do so hot. We were down 21-0 early. We had a little comeback, but our defense sucked anyways. Taj Brooks was out. I mean, it wasn't his fault. I understand. Tough situation. You had to come in at TCU, fumbled, lost. I'm just saying, Baron Morton, if we can get away from the injury bug, we'll be just okay. But if we need to, Will Hammond, you got to step up. Perfect time for you to step up. Make your case. Baron Morton's gone this year anyways. He's a senior, so he's gone after this year. I wanted to talk. I have this pulled up from Pro Football Focus. We already talked about the transfers. This says the top 10 defensive lines entering the 2025 season. They have Texas Tech third. I'm going to read a couple from it. The Red Raiders brought in arguably the best transfer portal class in the offseason, which is fair. We were almost there with LSU. And their defensive line, which is something that we struggled in. Our defensive line let quarterbacks sit there 5-6 seconds doing whatever they wanted. That's why our defense struggled. Our secondary struggled because our D-line wasn't getting any pressure. But I wanted to focus on Lee Hunter coming from UCF. He has 45 total tackles, 19 solos, 1 sacks, 9.5 tackles for losses, 6 quarterback hurries. And then I also want to talk about Skylar Gill Howard, another D tackle. We're pairing up 51 total tackles, 27 solos, 5 sacks, 11 tackles for losses, 8 tackles for losses, and 4 quarterback hurries. That dude is from Northern Illinois. We also added Stanford's David Bailey, which led all FBS edge defenders in pass rush grade and was second in pass rush win rate last season. Another edge spot that we had was Romeo Height. He was the 10th among ACC edge rushers with a 78.4 PFF grade in 2024. We've already talked about this. People are saying this is one of the best D-lines, and I would make the case. SEC and Big 12, one of the biggest differences is the aggressiveness and also the trenches, in my opinion. and I'm starting to see Big 12 starting to kind of focus on these trenches. It's crazy seeing Texas Tech being third in D-line. Is Tech going to have a good defense? Aaron already talked about Jacob Rodriguez, a dog. All I'm saying is, if this D-line can torture, like the way everybody's saying, like PFF has them, it's going to be tough to beat this team. But I do know Tech, we might drop a couple games. But I'm just saying, I'm more focused on the D-line. If we didn't upgrade the D-line, I wouldn't be as excited. But a D-line, we had Josh Pate, podcaster, CBS. He said he went over there, and it looked like these dudes were from Ann Arbor. Compared them to Michigan. You're saying these Texas Tech guys look like they're from Ann Arbor? Sign me up, dude. I think Tech wins. It's going to be tough.
Not only that, so like you and you connected it, you get all that great stuff, all those players. No, it's all right. It's all right. I'll get done with it. So I'm sure he's got something to say. But you're connecting all those great players, like you said, and that's where I was talking about. I didn't want to get into all the players, but now I'm going to connect that. You have all these players that you're saying look like they're in Ann Arbor. Well, you got a defensive coordinator that's had a top 25 defense everywhere he's went. He's changed the defense. And so Joey McGuire was like, well, let me just grab this guy. I gave you the players. Here you go. Let's go get a great defense. Keep him in the top 20. Tech with a top 20 defense. Can you imagine that? I don't even think we've ever been close to sniffing that. I'm saying I've never
I
think
agree.
of that.
We're 15th last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Aaron,
I meant in the country. I meant in the country.
Oh, yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I've never. Yeah, I was like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Reading this article. You want to hear the first two before we get to Tech?
What's that
You're
again?
going to be like, why are we in this? I said, you want to hear the first two teams, 1 and 2, and you're going to be like, we're on the same fucking like topic with these guys?
Yeah,
number 1, Clemson, and number 2, Alabama. God. And you got Tech right after?
Yeah.
Man. They have Tech higher than Penn State. Sorry.
Go for it, Aaron.
Austin's still got his number 1 team to go through.
Did you not know that? Or were we thinking this was like
I forgot, but I'm done.
All right. My number 1, which is obvious, it's the obvious answer to me, is Arizona State. Arizona State, number 1 for many reasons. Y'all talked about Arizona State. Very well, broke down the offense, and that's all true. Like I wrote it down. Sam Leavitt, almost 3,000 yards passing, 24 touchdowns. He's one of those guys. This is a quarterback heavy conference, as we've kind of broken down here. There's a lot of quarterbacks here that do good. Sam Leavitt being one of them. He's doing great. I'm going to talk about kind of like Kenny Dillingham, the coach, the fiery young coach coming in his 3rd year. He goes from 3-9 to taking his team all the way against Texas, right, in the playoffs. And I think that's awesome. I enjoy how he interacts with the media and how he treats his players too. I think that team has built a chemistry and a culture around him that they kind of get behind. I mean, if all y'all remember when he was talking about the transfer portal, he was backing his own players saying, listen, guys, if you want to leave, leave. Like, I'm totally fine. We'll help you. Like, he's like, I understand. Money's money. And I think there's great opportunity. And all of his players basically took that and they're like, no, we're going to stay. We're going to stay and we're going to run this back. And so since we're talking about vetted players, and I don't, for the life of me, I don't know why we wouldn't even discuss Arizona State's vetted, because they are the number 2 team in the country with the most returners coming back. They will be the 2nd most vetted team in the country, only behind Clemson, who's number 1. They will return 80% of their defense, which was the number 1 running defense in the Big 12. All right. And we can pop off with names all you want. There's no name teams that we can't think about in Arizona State. We already gave you Sam Leavitt on offense. Coming back is Jordan Tyson with 1,100 yards receiving. We're all worried about Cam Scadaboo. That's all right. We get it. He ran for 1,700 yards. That was amazing to see. We're going to give you an 1,100-yard rusher with a guy who had to run with 8 to 9 guys in the box at all times. Now he has a passing game where he's like, you're not going to put 8 or 9 in the dang box because you better be able to guard that pass with Sam Leavitt putting 3,000 on you. So I'm going to be running with 6 in the box, 6 or 7. He's going to get his nice little 1,200, 1,300. So we're not too worried about the production on the rushing. This guy has shown it. He's shown it, and he can run against defenses who are trying to stop him at all times. They know he's getting the ball. Well, now they don't know if he's going to get the ball or not because we got Sam Levitt and we got a pass game that is lethal. Defensive side, like I already talked about it, 80% production, experience, the most production coming back in the Big 12, second in the nation. And then just for the names, like if I were just to returning starters on defense, I could start with Miles Rouser, Keyshawn Elliott, Jordan Crook, defensive tackle CJ Fight. We also got a transfer in from Texas, Xavier Alford. I mean, this is going to be stacked. This Arizona State is primed to run it back. They literally said, we're all staying. 80%. 8 out of your 11 defense coming back. Most vetted. And we still get Sam Levitt. You get a running back. You got your receivers back. It's just primed for it, and you got a fiery coach who has his team behind him, who basically told him, you can leave. I'm not going to be mad at you. I will help you. Like, let me help you try and land a spot to what is best for you. And he got those kids behind him. And so I just don't see how you wouldn't put this as number one in my eyes for me, because I'm a guy who loves experience. Well, there's no other more experienced team other than those team in ACC at Clemson. But I think it'll be a fight because I think Joey McGuire did, obviously we're seeing the change. It's this team who's kept everybody, and now you got like a very ramped up Texas Tech. I think it's set for a really huge matchup. I think it's going to be fun to watch a lot of these teams face off, but I have a hard time not putting Arizona State at 1 with what's coming back here. I mean, when you have that many guys returning, it's going to be huge. And I think Sam Levitt's only going to get better, obviously, right? You tend to get better with experience. So that was my number 1 in Arizona State.
There we go. There's our full Big 12 predictions and breakdown for Aaryn, Austin, and Evan. I hope y'all have a great night. Y'all stay safe. And thank y'all for listening. Also, tell your friends. Just subscribe if you can. Follow the Instagram. Follow the TikTok. We're under GridironBoyz. If you also leave some comments down.
Also, fuck your hat.